Hello there. I'm glad you found me here. It can be very rainy in my country at this time of the year. But luckily for me, one of my favourite pastimes is to paint in the rain. The first thing I do is place the drawing on this large piece of board. I have a few different sizes to choose from. I will then tape it down with masking tape, but it is advised to use some sort of painter's tape instead. Next, I will clean my palette. It's always good to start a new painting with a fresh palette. It keeps your mind clear of any previous paintings, and it stops you from mixing around with too many different colours. And then I will just start painting. Since the line art is already down, it's a little bit like painting in a colouring book. So little bit by bit, I will just add the different colours to the different sections. This is also a good way to keep the colours consistent throughout the piece. You can colour each part a little bit at a time, and this can help you achieve that. You can make each section that you want to have the same sort of colours at the same time, and then that way it avoids any sort of mix-up. I then painted this little church door, this bright yellow colour. I thought it contrasted very nicely with all the purples that I've been using so far. I have decided to use another plum purple colour to create the shadows of the piece. I wanted to do this because I had used a particular ink from my pen, which was also a very dark plum / purple colour. I think this is a really good way to pull the whole piece together, and it helps it have a particular consistency and pulls the whole piece together to look more complete. This is a technique I use a lot. I do prefer it as I think it can add a lot of character to your work rather than sticking to colours that are possibly a bit more realistic. I have also been using this deep plum colour a lot during this particular time. This painting was actually completed a year ago now, and I do remember during that time I had lots of paintings that were the same sort of colours. I think it was a new pen at the time, but I'd just become obsessed with this colour, and I think nearly everything I was painting and drawing was based around it. I don't really know why, I just really liked it at the time. They are really nice pens that I use, and this particular colour I think is really lovely. It's dark enough to still create that bold, strong line that you would like to have in illustration like this, but at the same time it has a nice colour to it. So yes, that is possibly the reason why I used it so much. actually came up for the idea of this painting when I was out with my family one day in the city. Where I live, there is a lot of old architecture and quaint little buildings, so it's not very difficult to imagine the whimsical when you're walking around places like this. On this little street that we went across, I had this image in my head of little witches on their way to school in the morning, being guided by their witch teacher. I didn't really create a sketch for this, it was just an idea I had in my head, and then later on when it came down to putting the piece on the paper, I just had to go roughly from memory of the idea that I had. I do this quite a lot because you can't always have a sketchbook handy when you come up with ideas, unfortunately. But this piece turned out quite well. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but I do find for me it has worked quite well in the past. And this is a good example of a piece that I think worked. Here I am using a burnt sienna colour for the bricks. It gives that reddy orange sort of colour that you very often see in brickwork. At least that's what I thought. My bricks are not very even here. I do remember creating this and I tried my best to stick to some sort of perspective, but I didn't quite know what I was doing at first, and then it was too late. But I just sort of went with some of the mistakes. Hopefully they're not too noticeable. Next I will be adding highlights to the piece. I normally do this at the end because I use a white gouache. This has been the most effective way I can get a nice solid white colour that actually works over the top of inks and watercolour. I don't have any other gouache paints, so I normally just use this straight out of the tube. This way I save the paint and I don't need to get it out on a palette, and it just makes it a very easy process to do. I just try and add highlights wherever I think is needed. Because this is supposed to be the morning and the light is very ambient, but the sun has not quite risen yet. The lighting is going to be very soft. There's not going to be any harsh shadows or the need for very strong. There's not going to be a very strong light source, so again, I just kept this very simple. There are still a few details in this piece which I haven't completed here. I'm not really sure why. I cannot remember my thought process, but obviously before the piece is complete I did go in and draw in the last little details there. This white is great, but when you add water to it, sometimes you need to give it a few moments to thicken up before it will actually show on the paper. And finally, I just complete the line art. I always go over my line art at the end. It helps adding any extra details and boldening the line, as the watercolour paint can sometimes make them look a bit dull. And yes, it's also a good time to add in any of those extra details that are always better added in afterwards. That are always things that you can think of a little bit later. Little things that you think, oh, that would look better. You might added this line here, or added a little thing there. It's interesting looking back at work that I did around this time last year. It's taken me a very long time to edit this video, but it did also take me a very long time to create this painting. There were large gaps in between having the idea and getting the sketch down and the line art down and painting it and then creating this video. I don't know why some pieces end up that way, but I think during this time I was starting to get a little bit tired. I was starting to struggle a lot with creating new art, to the point where in this year, in 2022, I've actually created very little to no new works of art. So this sort of art block is very upsetting to have, and unfortunately it has sort of hindered my ability to keep on creating new YouTube videos. But I suppose it's better late than never. I have finally finished this video, and I will finally be uploading it, and hopefully I will be able to continue with this motion. Hopefully I will start to feel a little bit better in my creation process, and I will be able to start making new things again. I think that is finished. It's taken me a long time, but that's okay. I hope you enjoyed today's video and that you found it beneficial in one way or another. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next one. Bye-bye.